What are the directions to say that graph? Okay, so before I start graphing here, when we started the polynomial functions unit, we wrote a lot of notes about the graphs. We looked at them a little bit, but we didn't go in a whole lot of depth. One of the things we talked about was if the degree was even or odd. If the degree is an odd number, the ends are going to go in different directions, like the disco dance. If the degree is an even number, they'll both go the same direction, either both up or both down. Now, this one is actually written in factor form. Tyler brought up synthetic division. Someone has done the synthetic division here already. It's not written out in standard form, a big old long polynomial. We've got this factor twice, and we've got this factor once. So if I were to multiply all that out, this would have an x squared, because you would have it twice, and this would have an x to the first. So altogether, it's cubed, right? This is a cubic function. You see how I would get that? Squared and first, 2 and 1 is 3. So that means the ends are going to go in opposite directions. My a, if we think about a stuff, is positive, so it's going to go uphill first. So I would be, I'll just erase it. I would be expecting something like that. Okay, now that's pretty generic, and I just put it on there anywhere. We got to find where it goes specifically. This format, the way it's written, it's already telling you some specific points. Since it's not written out in standard form and it's written in factor form, if you solve each of these factors, you already know some zeros. So if x plus 3 equals 0, this graph is going to hit the x-axis at -3. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3. X minus 2 equals 0. It's going to hit the x-axis at +2. And since it hits there twice, what might that mean is going to happen here? And we talked about that on Friday. It's going to turn there. Very good. So if it's coming like this, it's going to, well, how can I make that work? Maybe like that, it would turn there, something along those lines. Okay, so now I just need to find a couple more points to show that. So you can do it a couple of ways. Like I was saying, you could type it into y equals on your calculator and go to your table. We could make a table and plug in some numbers. Okay, you want to plug 0 in. So I got 1/6 times 0 plus 3 times 0 minus 2. Okay, so -2 squared is 4. So 1/6 times 3 times 4. 1/6 times 3 is a half, and a half times 4 is 2. So over 0, up 2. Okay. Got one more you want to plug in?
How many do we need?
Well, we just need to be able to see all the terms. So
-1. No, just do -1.
okay, I would just plug in whole numbers. But here's what I would recommend. Since we know these here at 0 and -3, I might pick one in between those. So -1 might be a good one. And over here, I might pick one between 0 and 2. So 1 might also be a good one. Okay, let me see if I can get my thing to working. And you on your calculator can go through the table and find those. I don't know, mine probably aren't whole numbers. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's not do 1.
1 is not a pretty one.
Let's do 2 instead.
Well, I already got 2, don't I?
Oh, yeah. 3.
Let me get my -1 set up. 1/6 times -1 plus 3 times -1 minus 2 squared. So that's 1/6, -1 plus 3 is 2, -1 minus 2 is -3, and -3 squared is 9. So I'm going to work backwards on this. 2 times 9 is 18, and 18 times 6 is 3. So I'm going to go left 1 and up 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, right there by my square. Okay. Alright, then they're telling me the 1 is an ugly one, but that's okay, I'm still gonna do it. I'll just be able to estimate the fraction. So, 1/6 times 1 plus 3 times 1 minus 2 squared. 1 plus 3 is 4. 1 minus 2 is -1, and -1 squared is 1, so 4 times 1/6, take out a 4/6, take out a 2 is 2/3. So I'm gonna go right 1, and here's how I estimate, 2/3 is almost a 1. Okay, now I got some black dots on there and some blue dots, but remember we talked about what we know this graph is gonna do. It's gonna make up here on the top right where I just drew that, it's gonna make one of those, and because because 2 is multiplicity, that's where that's gonna turn. So when this comes down here and hits 2, it's gonna turn, needs to be more of a curve instead of a V like mine looks like. And then I'm just gonna connect everything else. So we get a graph looking similar to that. Now, a couple of terms, and I was going through the test that we're gonna take a while ago, and these terms weren't on there, but it's still stuff we need to know. This graph does not have a true maximum or minimum, because it's gonna keep going up forever, so you can't put a maximum on it, and it's gonna keep going down forever, so you can't put a minimum on it. But it does have local maximums and minimums. Local maximums and minimums happen where it turns. So it would be like, here would be a local maximum, right? Because it turns there, so that's kind of like the neighborhood mountaintop. So you would say that is up 1, 2, 3, so y equals 3 would be a local maximum. Y equals 0 would be a local minimum, even though it does go lower than 0. In this neighborhood, that's your local minimum, okay? And I went through the test and those terms weren't on there, so I'm not gonna stress about them, but they are good math things that we need to be aware of. Okay, did y'all need help putting that in your calculator? I know Christian finally got it figured out. Because if you wanna do that on your calculator on the test, that's fine. Just make sure you know how to use it. Alright, I just picked a few more for us to practice graphing. We did that one already. Let me find where there
Is
was.
this all we're doing today, just graph?
Yeah, this is the last bit we have to cover. Let me erase this, so let me use that graph next period. Alrighty, next page. Come on, get a piece of graph paper again. So that says f of x equals negative x plus 2 times x minus 1 squared. So I'm going to give you a minute and see if you can come up with a graph of that.
X minus 1.
Yes. Squared.
We just put -1 there.
You can put -1 or just the negative symbol, either one.
Where do we put that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, cause I did minus them.
Yeah, use the negative symbol. Okay, I'd be expecting a lightning bolt. Again, ends to go in opposite directions, because a squared and a first makes a third. Ends go in opposite directions, but my A is negative this time. So that means reading the graph left to right, like you read a book, it's gonna go downhill first. So something along those lines, okay? So that just gives you, if you type it in your calculator and get something totally off, you know, oh shoot, I screwed up. Again, this one's written in what we would call intercept form. It tells you where it's gonna cross. I know this graph is gonna cross the x-axis at -2, because if x plus 2 equals 0, x has to be -2. I know it's gonna cross at +1, because if x minus 1 equals 0, x has to equal 1, and I know it's gonna turn there, because it has multiplicity there. Okay, so I just need to find a few more. Remember, I'm expecting it to, if you can follow my mouse, it's a little up there. I'm expecting it to do something like that, maybe. Okay, so pick some numbers close around what we've got. -1. And you can, if you type in your calculator, you can just use the table. You don't have to do this math I'm doing, but it's good for the math teacher to do some math. So -1, -1 plus 2 is 1. -1 minus 1 is -2, and then you square -2, and that's 4. So 1 times 4 is 4, and then make it negative. So I got -1, -4. Is that what it was on your calculator? -1, -4? 1, 2, huh? Oh, I did +1? No? No, I did -1. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that takes it way down there. Okay, what's another good one for me to get a picture on the graph? 0. Ooh, stay up there so I can work, dude. 0.
And that's just -2 because we already have it. It's one of the things, right?
No, I'm plugging a 0 in x, not for y.
Oh, yeah.
So 0 plus 2 is 2. 0 minus 1 is -1, and -1 squared is 1. So 2 times 1 is 2, and then make it negative, so over 0 down 2. Let me get my scroll bar, go over 0 down 2. Okay, so remember I knew it was gonna come downhill first, so it's gonna come way down here, hit this one, and then go back up and hit its head and come over this way. So maybe let's pick one over here, like 2, 3, 2, you said, Christian? Okay, I'm gonna erase that work I got up there so I got room to do my 2. If you choose different points, that's okay, they'll still lie on the same graph as long as none of us mess up. 2 is 4, 2 minus 1 is 1, and 1 squared is 1. 4 times 1 is 4, make that -4. Oh, and I wrote a 2 dumb butt. So right 2 and down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to try to start drawing now, see if I get something that looks similar to what y'all got on your calculators. Yeah, it is. Spread out. So did y'all get something like that? Okay, now, let me show you. This is right, but what if someone had been tracing this up and they did something like that? How would I explain to them that's wrong?
You did turn around on the point.
Okay, so how do I know to turn around on that point?
Multiplicity?
Well, very good. All had to be with, it was given twice as a 0, and multiplicity is where turns happen. Oh. So since this had the multiplicity there, we knew that a turn was going to happen there. Okay? All right. I had a lot more of these picked, but it seems like y'all don't need a lot more, but I want to do one that's an even power, at least, since we haven't done an even power picked yet.
We're just a good class.
I know it.
We should have pizza.
It's early for pizza, isn't it?
That is too early.
Yeah, that wouldn't feel very good. Towards around football,
I've had pizza for breakfast before.
I had walking with for breakfast this morning.
I
It's
always
my
have,
strangest breakfast I've ever had. I went to baseball workouts and then I came home and had me some guacamole
when do you
I
work
had-
out for baseball?
Had a
in
slim.
the morning from 6 to 7.
Shoot.
I don't have the go since I work
I
out
leave
football.
the house at 7. 7 to 7:15.
My day's just getting started around 7.
Okay, so that says f of x equals 0.2, that's a 0.2. 0.2 times x minus 4 squared times x plus 1 squared. So I'm gonna give you a second to experiment, see what you come up with, x minus 4 squared, x plus 1 squared. And then we'll talk about it.
It's a wacky boy.
We play Nashville this week.
Yeah.
Yay. It's home, right? You ain't got 4 hours.
Nashville's in the middle of nowhere.
It is. I've already had to go there 3 times for football.
Nashville, that's in Tennessee.
Not this Nashville.
Okay, what degree would this thing be? If we multiplied it all out, what would our highest power be?
4.
4, very good, because we get a squared here, and a squared here, and a square times a square makes a 4. So that means the ends are gonna go the same direction. If my a is positive, they're both gonna point up. If my a is negative, they're both gonna point down. We have a positive 0.2, so they're both gonna point up. Okay? This is a 4th power, it's not a parabola, so I'm expecting more turns than a parabola. I'm expecting some humps, maybe like a W, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna turn at x equals 4, and it's gonna turn again at x equals negative 1. Is everybody good on that? Alright, so let me go over to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 1. Okay, so it's gonna be like something, it's gonna turn there, maybe turn somewhere else, I'm not real sure. Anybody wanna throw me some points to plug in? Okay, 0. 0.2 times 0 minus 4 squared times 0 plus 1 squared. 0 minus 4 is negative 4 squared is 16. Whew. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So what is 0.2 times 16? Is that 3.2 or 32? No, it's not 32. Is it 3.2?
16.
16 times 0.2. Come on. I think it's 3.2. Y'all checking?
Yep, 3.2.
Alright. So I'm gonna go over 0 and up 1, 2, 3, and just a smidge. It's technical math there, just a smidge.
Oh, I thought that was 2 and 5.
Just a smidge.
Alright.
Higher.
How about another number?
Four. Oh, wait, we already have.
We already have 4.
Uh-huh. 2.
2.
Yeah.
0.2 times 2 minus 4 squared times 2 plus 1 squared. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 squared is 9. 4 times 9 is 36. 7.2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's gonna be way up here at the top. Is that right? Does that look like the picture on y'all's calculator? Okay, looks pretty good. Alright. So, knowing, if I didn't, I might, honestly, I might struggle with this if I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. But because I know it's a fourth power and it's gonna be opening up and it's gonna turn on these, I know it's gonna make a W. But if I just looked at these points, I'd be like, holy cow. Let me get a different color so it'll stand out and see if we can make a W through these. So I'm gonna come down and hit that.
Could just be a regular.
Mm-hmm. So I'll get something that looks along those lines. Very cool, very cool. Okay, let me tell you about, I need to mark my notes that we didn't do those other problems. Let me tell you about rest of the week and test stuff. Erase that one. That one, and that one. So tomorrow, you're gonna get your study guide. I already have it in Google Classroom. I just gotta push a magic button so you can see it. You're gonna get your study guide tomorrow. Tomorrow and virtual Wednesday, you're gonna work on your study guide on your own, and then Thursday is when I'll go over it, and then Friday you're gonna take the test. Now, normally, my tests are either 20 or 25 questions. And the reason I do 20 or 25, and this is telling you how simple-minded I am, because those percentages are easy to figure in my head. Okay? And so I had made this one originally with 20 questions, and I started going through it, and there was questions I didn't like, so I threw them out, and all of a sudden I was down to 15. So I printed it with 15, that's how it's gonna upload, but I went through it again this morning and found more I didn't like. So there's gonna be 15 when you take it, but there's 2 secret ones that I'm not gonna mark wrong. So you get 2 freebies on it.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
I won't make a 0 at least.
that's right. That'll be on Friday. It'll be in your Google Classroom like it was last time. I think there'll be, there's 4 forms, so there'll be 2 of y'all in here that have the same form with only 5 people. It'll be good. Everybody, any questions so far?
Could you do that big test with 15 questions?
I don't know, 15's a harder percentage to figure in my head.
I didn't have a I got
You better be focused and quit daydreaming this time.
well, I just got lost on it. I was just sitting there, I was like,